Imagine you're at an airport in a faraway country. The air is filled with the sounds of rolling suitcases, boarding announcements, and dozens of languages blending together. You're surrounded by people from all over the world, each with their own destination and story. You want to buy a cup of coffee to shake off your jet lag, but when you reach into your wallet, you realize you only have US dollars, no local currency at all. The cashier behind the counter doesn't hesitate. She smiles, takes your dollars, and gives you change, as if it's the most normal thing in the world. There's no confusion, no questions asked. This isn't strange or unusual. In fact, it happens every day, in airports, hotels, and shops all over the world. The US dollar is accepted almost everywhere, even in places far from American shores. The US dollar is everywhere. On shop signs, in the hands of bank tellers, and tucked inside wallets alongside local money. It's a familiar sight whether you're in South America, Africa, or Southeast Asia. For decades, people living in countries with unstable economies or high inflation have turned to the dollar for safety. When their own money loses value overnight, the dollar remains steady. When their own currency becomes worthless or unpredictable, the US dollar is seen as a lifeline, a way to protect savings, pay for essentials, and plan for the future. In some countries, you can even pay your rent, buy groceries, or settle big purchases using US dollars. It's not just for tourists. Locals rely on it too. This shows just how powerful and trusted the US dollar is around the globe. It's more than just a currency. It's a symbol of stability and trust. But why is the dollar so trusted? Why do people in faraway countries, who may never visit America, want to use the US dollar instead of their own money? The answer lies deep in history, politics, and economics. Decades ago, world leaders made decisions that put the US dollar at the center of global trade and finance. Over time, the dollar's role has grown and changed, shaping economies and affecting the lives of billions. But today, that story is starting to shift. In recent years, more and more countries have begun to question the power of the dollar. They're asking if it's wise to depend so much on one nation's currency. Some countries are even taking steps to move away from the dollar, exploring new ways to trade and save that don't rely on it. This story is about why that's happening, and what it could mean for all of us, no matter where we live or what currency we use. The future of money is changing, and the world is watching. After World War II, the world was in chaos. Cities across Europe and Asia lay in ruins, economies were shattered, and millions of people faced an uncertain future. The devastation was unlike anything the world had ever seen before. Countries urgently needed to rebuild their homes, factories, and infrastructure. But to do that, they needed a stable and reliable way to trade with each other. Without a trusted system, global recovery would be slow and difficult. In 1944, as the war was drawing to a close, leaders from 44 countries gathered in a small town called Bretton Woods in the United States. They knew that the old financial system had failed, and something new was needed to prevent future crises. There, after days of intense negotiations, they made a historic decision. The US dollar would become the world's main currency, the anchor for international trade and finance. Why the dollar? At the time, the United States had emerged from the war with the world's strongest economy. Its factories were booming, and it held the largest gold reserves on the planet. This made the dollar trustworthy and stable. Other countries agreed to fix the value of their money to the dollar, and in turn, the dollar was tied to gold. This system, known as the Bretton Woods Agreement, created a new era of stability in global finance. With the dollar at the center, trading between nations became much easier and safer. If you trusted the dollar, you could trust world trade. Businesses and governments everywhere began to rely on it for buying and selling goods. Over the years, the system evolved. In 1971, President Nixon announced that the US would no longer tie the dollar to gold, ending the gold standard. This was a major shift, but the dollar's dominance continued. Even after the gold link was broken, the dollar remained the world's #1 currency. Oil, gold, and almost every major commodity were, and still are, priced in dollars. This made the dollar essential for global trade. This special role gave the United States enormous economic power. The dollar became the go-to money for international trade, investment, and savings, shaping the world economy for decades to come. Most countries kept large stashes of dollars in their central banks as reserves. For decades, the dollar has been seen as the world's safe bet, a symbol of stability in an unpredictable world. There are a few simple reasons why countries like using the US dollar. First, the dollar is stable. When a country's own money is shaky, the dollar is a safe place to park savings. People trust it. Second, the dollar is easy to use for trade. Most big international deals are done in dollars. Whether it's buying oil, airplanes, or smartphones, this makes buying and selling between countries much smoother. Third, the US has the world's biggest financial system. If you want to move money, invest, or borrow, the US market is the place to go. The dollar is the world's common language for banks and businesses. Finally, keeping dollars helps countries in a crisis. If something goes wrong, like a sudden drop in their own currency, they can use dollars to pay debts or import goods. The dollar acts like a backup battery for the world's economy. In the past few years, the global financial landscape has started to shift in ways that are hard to ignore. Recently, things have started to change, and these changes are happening faster than many expected. More and more countries are beginning to question whether they should continue to rely so heavily on the US dollar for international trade and finance. This is a big deal, because for decades, the dollar has been the world's main currency for business and government deals. Why is this happening? One major reason is that the US has used its dollar power as a tool to influence global politics. By blocking certain countries' banks from using dollars, the US can effectively cut them off from the world economy. This process is known as sanctions, and it's a powerful weapon. Countries like Russia, Iran, and others have experienced the harsh effects of these sanctions firsthand. Their economies have suffered, and they've started looking for ways to protect themselves from future risks. Trade wars have also played a significant role in this shift. When countries impose tariffs and restrictions on each other, like the US and China did in recent years, it creates uncertainty and tension in global markets. During these trade disputes, countries start searching for alternatives to the dollar, hoping to gain more independence and stability in their financial dealings. They want more control over their own money and the terms of their international agreements, rather than relying on a single foreign currency. The rise of new global powers has also changed the game in a big way. Groups like the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are pushing for a more balanced financial system. China, India, and Brazil, in particular, are becoming stronger economies with more influence on the world stage. They want their voices and their currencies to matter more. These countries are actively working to make their own money play a bigger role in global trade, challenging the dollar's dominance. Finally, technology is opening up entirely new possibilities. The rise of digital banking, mobile payments, and online financial services is changing how money moves around the world. Digital currencies and faster, more secure payment systems are making it easier than ever for countries to trade directly, without needing to use the dollar as a middleman. All these changes together mean that the dollar's grip on the world is not as tight as it once was. The future of global finance is becoming more diverse, and the world is watching to see what happens next. Some countries are leading the move away from the dollar. China, for example, is pushing its currency, the yuan, in global trade. It has set up deals with countries like Russia and Brazil to pay each other in their own money, not dollars. Russia is another big player. After facing US sanctions, Russia traded more with China and Europe using rubles and yuan. India has also started buying oil from Russia using rupees. Brazil, the biggest economy in South America, has talked about trading with China in yuan. These countries are part of a group called BRICS. Together, they want to build their own financial systems and use their own currencies. They even talk about creating a new shared currency in the future. This shift is still small compared to the power of the dollar, but it's growing. As more countries join in, the dollar's role may keep shrinking, step by step. Moving away from the dollar isn't simple. There are, big risks. If a country stops using the dollar, it might be harder to trade with others. Most of the world's banks and companies still use dollars. Changing systems is expensive and, honestly, pretty tricky. There's also the risk that a country's own money isn't as trusted as the dollar. If people lose confidence, prices can jump, and the economy can suffer. This is what happened in places like Zimbabwe and Venezuela. But there are rewards, too. Using their own money gives countries more control. They don't have to worry as much about US actions or sanctions. They can make deals that fit their own needs. It also means they can try to build a stronger, more independent economy. If their currency becomes popular, it could bring more power and influence. For big countries like China, this is a huge goal. You might wonder, why does all this matter to me? The answer, more than you might think. If your country's money is weak, prices go up, and life gets harder. When countries use the dollar, prices are often more stable. But if countries move away from the dollar, it could change the prices of things you buy, like gas, food, and electronics. It could make travel more expensive or cheaper, depending on where you go. It might also affect your job, especially if you work for a company that trades with other countries. If the dollar loses power, new winners and losers will appear. Some people might save money, others might pay more. That's why this story matters to everyone, not just bankers and politicians. So, as countries make big choices about their money, the effects spread around the world, to every home, every wallet, and every shopping cart. No one can say exactly what the future holds. The US dollar is still the world's top currency, but the ground is shifting. More countries are making deals in their own money. New payment systems are popping up, making it easier to trade without the dollar. Some experts think the dollar will slowly lose power, but not disappear. Others believe we could see a new global currency, maybe from BRICS or through digital money. If that happens, the way countries trade and save will change forever. The US could try to defend the dollar's role by making deals or changing its policies. Or, it could lose control if countries work together to build a new system. No matter what, the next few years will be interesting. The world of money is changing, and the dollar's future is uncertain. So, why are countries ditching the US dollar? It's about power, safety, and control. The dollar became king after World War II, but time and technology are changing the world. Some countries want more control over their money. Others don't want to risk being punished by the US. For now, the dollar is still strong, but every deal done in yuan, rupee, or ruble is a small chip at the dollar's throne. If the trend continues, the world could look very different in a few years. For ordinary people, these changes might mean new prices, new travel rules, or even new ways to save money. It's a story worth watching closely. In the end, one thing is clear: the world of money never stands still. The dollar's days as king may be numbered, or it may find a way to adapt. Only time will tell.